everybody, it's Michael and welcome to the first Sexy Sunday. On Sexy Sundays we're going to talk about sexy, sexual things. The first thing that I want to talk about for our very first Sexy Sunday is the obligation to give your partner sex. I've been hearing this a lot recently from my friends and it really surprised me because, to be honest, I thought it was rare. And it's not. There's definitely been times in my life where I've felt obligated to give my partner sex, but they've never lasted for very long because I've been aware of how wrong it felt. I was having a conversation with a friend where she was telling me that she felt obligated to give her boyfriend sex, and I was like, that's ridiculous, that's not how it works, and she said that was normal, and I disagreed with her, and then I was talking to a bunch of my other friends, and it turns out it's kind of normal. I don't get this. I don't feel like sex is a thing you give. I feel like sex is a thing you do together. It's a thing you share. It's an activity. You don't give someone an activity. Your body is not an object that you're giving someone to use for a while because they're turned on. A couple of reasons why. One of the main ones that I have a really hard time understanding is that it really doesn't seem fun to have sex with someone who's having sex with you out of obligation. Like, if my husband was having sex with me just because I was turned on and I wanted to, and he didn't, I would be, that sounds terrible. When you have sex with someone, right, you're not looking just for an orgasm, you're looking for sex, for doing something fun with another person, or a couple of other people. If what you're going for is an orgasm, that's what masturbation is for. Get a vibrator or fleshlight, or just use your hand if you can. Not everybody can. The idea that a woman is obligated to give a man sex in a relationship is, I feel like there's a couple of different aspects of that are really big problems. One is that it reinforces the idea that women are objects. We obviously objectify women throughout every aspect of our culture, and that objectification seems to carry on into the bedroom. In the past, and sometimes in the now, when a woman gets married, she is her husband's possession, and she would be required or expected to obey him and give him sex, among other things. If the assumption is that he owns you, then, okay, then that obligation would make sense. But he doesn't. I think that another place where this idea of an obligation to give a man sex comes from is pornography. A lot of pornography is not exactly a celebration of gender equality. In most pornography, the women are there as props more than anything else. The woman's pleasure is only important as much as it can turn on the viewer, and since most men in my generation watch porn on a regular basis, and have since they were really young, I think that porn has in a lot of ways influenced the way that they think about women's sexuality, and as a result, a lot of relationships are based around this idea that a woman's sexuality exists for the sake of the man in the relationship. And that's just not true. Your sexuality is yours alone, and it does exist separate from your partner. So there are always going to be times when there's some sexual incompatibility in a relationship where you want sex and your partner doesn't, or your partner wants sex and you don't. But the thing that we need to be aware of is that when you want sex, really what you want a lot of the time is an orgasm. If you're just horny, you can take care of that yourself, and ideally in a way that's respectful to your partner, i.e. when they're not around. Sex isn't about the singular you. It's not about you having an orgasm or you getting sex. Sex is about the plural you guys together. And if your sexuality at that moment in time isn't matching up with your partner's sexuality for any number of reasons, your sexuality is not your partner's problem, and your partner's sexuality is not yours. You guys should and can work on having a strong sexual relationship, but the way to destroy a strong sexual relationship is making somebody feel obligated to give you sex. In my relationship, sex only happens when both people want to have sex, really want to have sex. And if somebody doesn't, whether it's me or my husband, we just don't do it. A lot of women choose to have sex with their partners when they're maybe not super into the idea because they don't want their partner to be disappointed or angry or annoyed or to feel unsatisfied and look somewhere else. All of those are really, really terrible reasons to have sex with someone. You shouldn't feel that your partner's ability to stay physically and mentally and emotionally true to you is based on you having sex with them when you're not into it. If you find that you are in a relationship where you feel obligated to give your partner sex, it may be a good idea to ask your partner if they feel that obligation is real. Because a lot of times you will experience this obligation and your partner has no idea and doesn't think you have that obligation and might be perfectly fine with you saying, I'm not into it tonight. Not a situation where if you don't want them to be inside you, you have to blow them or you have to give them a hand job just to make them happy. They have a hand. They can take care of that themselves. They'll be okay. And if they can't respect that you're just not into it tonight, you know in the comments if you guys are now in a relationship where you feel obligated to give your partner sex. I would also really love to hear from people who think that the obligation to give your partner sex is a perfectly healthy way to have a relationship. I'm interested in the other side of this conversation too, but it's one that right now I can't really understand. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me for our very first Sexy Sunday. I am going to be doing this every Sunday, and there's a link below to a blog called Good Sex where I talk about how to have good sex. If you have any questions or comments about sex, if you want any advice, you can put in the comments below, or my Tumblr, or my Twitter, or leave it on the blog. You can also email me directly, and I will answer as many of them as I possibly can. No subject is taboo as long as everything is consensual. Have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, or night.